What does the East Village mean to you? Do you associate it with anything? Is your favorite restaurant or your favorite bar here? Many know the East Village for its infamously happening nightlife that includes old school bars, cool music venues, and intimate performance spaces that share the streets with posh cocktail lounges and undeniably hip restaurants. Take a look around. Is this what you know the East Village for? It seems a bit quieter here, doesn't it? Let's move a little to where you can see the street signs. Be careful of the trash cans behind you, though. I would hate for you to touch those. Ukrainian Americans have been present in New York City as early as the 17th century, when the city was called New Amsterdam. However, the first mass Ukrainian immigration wave occurred during 1870 to 1899. The traditional Ukrainian area in New York City is called Little Ukraine, or the Ukrainian East Village. This is a piece of ephemera from that once thriving community. In this ad, a well-known Ukrainian village lawyer offers to handle passports, shipping, real estate transactions, and citizenship papers to Ukrainian immigrants. Currently, you are standing at the corner of East 6th Street and Taras Shevchenko Place, one of the most important cross streets in Little Ukraine. On the weekend closest to May 17th each year, the annual Ukrainian festival takes place right here. Let's move a bit so we can get a better view. Stop here. This is good. So I'm sure you're wondering who this street is named after. Well, Taras Shevchenko was a Ukrainian writer, painter, and political activist whose novels and poems gave forceful expression to his countrymen's national sentiment at a time when many aspects of their culture, especially the language, were being suppressed by the Russian Empire. This street was originally known as Hall Street, and then later as Hall Place, after Charles Henry Hall, a Harlem landowner who sold the property to the city on December 23, 1828. City Council changed the name of Hall Place to Taras Shevchenko Place in 1978. There was an attempt in 2001 by the Cooper Union to rename the street back to Hall Place by demapping the Taras Shevchenko name. A Hall Place street sign was reinstalled in 2010, but I don't see one around here. So let's move forward. Be careful as you walk across the street. You should look both ways, even though I may not have. Just take a moment now as you're walking to look at the buildings around you and take in the peace and the air. It's so quiet around here. It's also pretty interesting how they chose to juxtapose the Cooper Union building with the historic and antique architecture of the Ukrainian village. I wonder if anyone else notices that, or if you've ever noticed that. Where we're walking to now is the St. George's Ukrainian Catholic Church. It's right around this corner, so just go ahead and turn. We won't spend too much time here, but I hope that you are able to admire its beauty and subtlety on this street as much as I do. I've been here so many times, and I guess there was a service today. It is Sunday, I believe. The Cooper Union building just directly across the street from it is just so striking and dramatic that I so easily sometimes look over the church. If you've been here before, I hope that you've been better than me and have noticed it. And if you haven't been here before, I hope that next time you find yourself here, you choose to overlook the Cooper Union building instead. Take a moment and just follow my movements as we move a little bit back to observe the church in its entirety. Be careful, though, as you move back. There are cars probably in the street. The building is so lustrous and large, I'm actually surprised. I've never been here before. And I see I'm not the only person here, so let's keep it moving. Let's get out of the street. Taking you on a pretty dangerous route, I see. We won't be moving too far. I can actually already see it. That's Lesia, a Chinese restaurant described as a buzzy eatery offering Chinese seafood specialties with a Cajun twist amid hip rustic decor. However, this wasn't always Lesia. In June of 2016, Surma, the Ukrainian shop, permanently closed its doors. In 1910, Myron Surmach left his village in the Ukraine and headed on a boat to New York. Eager to preserve his native culture, he opened a small shop on Avenue A in Manhattan where he sold records, books, clothes, and other trinkets from the old country to other Ukrainian immigrants. After operating for almost a century at various addresses in the East Village, Surma finally settled right here at 11 East 7th Street in 1943. The closing of this store left the little Ukrainian community in despair. Longtime customers described this place as a place where they could trace the whole history of their community. They reluctantly said goodbye to the store for good. With the closing of this shop, Little Ukraine grew even smaller. When neighborhoods lose their history, they lose their souls. Let's walk through the East Village for a second. I have one more place to show you. Just keep on walking and see if you recognize any of these places that we're passing by. Oh, wonderful. Yep. We'll start off with the church. I'm sure you recognize that now. It's such a gloomy day in New York. It's kind of cold, gray. I can't wait for it to get warmer outside. Be careful where you're walking. Don't want to bump into anyone. That would piss anybody off. This guy's interesting. I don't know why. He may not even find himself interesting, but I think that his aesthetics perfectly fit in with the buildings around here. He's probably from New York, and probably exactly why. Try to match your foot pace with mine. I know my hand's a bit unsteady, but hopefully you can find some stillness and consistency in the perspective. To the right is San Marzano. If you've been there, then you know. So much construction in New York City. I wonder if when the Ukrainian immigrants came here in the 1800s, if there was this much construction as well. Could also be a testament to gentrification, but who knows, right? And this is 2nd Ave, which is home of Sunday brunch. So we'll be encountering a lot of characters here, I assume. No matter where you go in New York City, there's going to be people out. It's such a comforting feeling. So much food. You could literally stop and eat anywhere. Speaking of which, the place that we are going to stop at soon has food. Maybe I'll stop. I'm not sure. Surprised he didn't try to sell me sunglasses in that moment. I wonder if they go to NYU. Just kidding, I'm sure they do. That seems to be the Ukrainian national home. I remember I've been there before because there's a bar to the left of it named Sly Fox that has really cheap drinks. And there was a party happening in the National Home, and the Sly Fox and the National Home are connected, so I ended up walking over and sitting at a table drunkenly. It was quite a fun night. Veselka. This is where I was taking you. I'd be so surprised if you told me you've never seen this before. Let's walk around so we can get a better view. It's probably insanely packed, so we may have to stand on the street or the other side of the street. We'll see. It's so lively today. I love the weekends. even when it's cold, people aren't nearly as miserable on the weekends. Veselka. Veselka is arguably, at least in my opinion, the most prominent and memorable part of the Ukrainian village in the East Village. This restaurant has been featured in about 7 different films and has received incredible awards that spread its reputation beyond its immediate neighborhood. Veselka opened its doors in 1954 by post-World War II Ukrainian refugees Volodymyr and Olha Dormachwal. To this day, Veselka remains a family-run business, and it is currently owned by Dormachwal's son-in-law, Tom Burchard. The restaurant continues to support the needs of the neighborhood restaurants and Eastern European immigrants, offering staff positions to immigrants in need. They're open 24 hours, so if you find yourself stumbling around the East Village after a fun night at your favorite bar, come here, sit down, and enjoy a nice few dozen boiled pierogies. We're just going to continue forward, ending our journey by just sitting down here at the Meg's bench and taking in all we've learned. Thank you for joining me.